All right. Looks like we are integrated. Let's get this going here. I'm going to say hello. All right. Looks like we are integrated. All right. So I am your host, Tigress Sydney Acute McDaniel, and this is Evolve Weekly. Today, we're going to head on over to Florida. Now, I know some of you are wondering right now, why not take a pause for the cause and discuss all of the pressing current issues that have become the big topic of interest over this past week and this past weekend. I will, of course I will. We'll do that next week because I am actually considering all the topics that I will discuss. And I am currently researching further into the viability of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine in African findings. So recent articles are showing, and I'm talking about peer-reviewed scientific journal articles on topic to the vaccination, okay? They are showing that those who have been vaccinated in Africa with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine are having great results with the Delta variant. In fact, it's showing that the immune system is producing even more viable antibodies for the variants. Very interesting, right? Remember, there are lots of variants, there are lots of mutations, but then you have variants of concern, right? They call them the VOCs, which is interesting that they use the same acronymous nomenclature when we have that for volatile organic compounds. Some of you all are familiar with that. Now, I'm not going to take this time to get all scientific on you. We're definitely going to handle politics today. Okay, so we're going to head on over to Florida, but I shall, in the next video, take a pause for the cause. Like I told you, sometimes we may just have to do, and address all of the issues on the table. And there are lots. In the meantime, what do you think I will tell you to do? Wear your mask. Wear your mask, even when you're in the company of those who you may generally be inclined to trust. Okay. Wear your mask. That's a great line of defense. Remember, my recommendation is that it is primarily viable for the psychology behind it all, to get yourself in the mindset, not fear, not instilling fear, but to get yourself in a habit of being more mindful of your surroundings, being more mindful of how often and when you touch your face, and not to touch your face as often, being mindful to wash your hands. A lot of the process of understanding OSHA and PPE is the psychology behind getting in the habit of safety practices, okay? So that's, for me, that's the main driver in continuing to wear my mask and persisting in doing so, as is my immediate family, okay? All right, so we're gonna head on over to Florida. All right, here we go. And while we're heading over there, let me get over here first. I already have the, yeah, there we go. I'm gonna head on over to Florida. Let's move this over. And as we do so, I'm going to, of course, share my screen. But before I do, let's go ahead and get the disclaimer out of the way, or excuse me, I keep saying disclaimer here lately. It's more of an affirmation than a disclaimer, right? What both sides, flip side of the same coin, but with a positive undertone, under an overtone, right? So we affirm, I affirm, may I further enlarge our collective and individual understanding on the topics that we will cover, and may I not cause further divide. All right, here we go. Okay, let's move this over a little. And let's move me down here. Okay, and let's make it big. There we go. Okay, so looking at this immediately, I think we all kind of feel the same way, right? Let's move it up. Good gracious. Let's get in a place where we can, all right, there we go. So the website is not all that visually appealing initially, right? Just trying to give you two different, interesting, very interesting. Wow. Okay, but this is par for the course, right? So we can see some opportunities to improve upon this website immediately. Whereas these are colors, navy blues and brick red, these are colors that are normally considered very effective for professional websites. This is just very, it's even though there's a white background, it's very dark and muted, right? The navigation bar is just way too condensed. You see this? It's just, and the font is not bad, but then you have areas where it's just not visually appealing. You can't even really read this very well, the font and the shadowing effect that they have used on this. What I find as a web designer, core to the many skills that I have in my plethora of a skill set, right? Sometimes it's just best to use a straightforward font. And if you're going to use a effect to enhance the font, it's best to go with the basics. Those things that actually work well and create a visually appealing look. The yellow shadowing behind the red or pink font color is not consistent with what I just said. It is the polar opposite. So it looks very blurred. And even though you can generally read it, I'm someone who doesn't need glasses on a daily and basis. So I can generally read it, but it is not comfortable. All right. So that's the number one thing that we see here. Again, with the font size here, it's just not appealing. Life as a lawmaker, that generally the title seems appealing, especially when I see grade 6+. But because it's such a small button and there's really no, no visual appeal, no graphic that appeals to even an educator that would feel like, oh, I'm going to use this as a teaching tool, for my class. I wouldn't be interested, and I am, some of you are familiar with that part of my academia as well. I am an educator. I've gone through the certification program approved for the state of North Carolina for teachers. Generally, of course, I continued along those, I continued therefrom and pursued higher education or advanced degrees. And now, soon as an ABD, PhD, I will be qualified as a college professor, right? So the medium that you use, the media and mediums that you use to teach, they are all very important. And let me make sure, because I know that some of you will be a little taken aback. Okay. They can refer to many different aspects. So let me go back. So, well, for scientific terms, of course, it can be something physical, like a medium, and there still is an application to the learning process. I wanted to show you that first. And then generally, an agency or means of doing something, okay? So means of communication, means mode of expression, okay? So it can refer to both. All right, so let's go back. It's kind of wordplay, if you will, but let's get serious here for a moment. Let's go to the Senate, and then let's also open a window for the House. And let's do the same thing that we've been doing with all other states, where we compare and contrast the websites for, or the, the sub websites for the Senate and the House. Now they are set up as separate domains, as we've seen for most of the states, but I'm just referring to them as under the umbrella of the state, of course, right? So let's pull up the Senate. Okay, so it's kind of more of the same on the first page. And let's go back. So it's not very visually appealing at all. We're going to actually open both of them in a new tab, excuse me. And we just proved a point if you saw the House. All right, so here's the Senate. Small font, same lack of visual appeal as the beginner or the opening intro home page for the Florida General Assembly, right? Okay, you have the president over here. He's got his picture, and that's more of the same as well. Again, and there is no need, or should be no need, for a disclaimer or for an explanation. But for those of you who are joining me for the first time, understand that what we have seen persist in our government is the white patriarchal stronghold, if you will. When we see the leaders of the House and the Senate, and they embody that same Caucasian representation, that same demographic, male Caucasian, it does pose a problem. And of course, male Caucasian and my age or older, and he definitely appears to be 44 or older, right? And that is a concern, because that is just more of the same. That is not consistent with our plea, our demands even, for transformation of American government, right? Okay, so, but that does not necessarily mean that Wilton Simpson is on the wrong side of justice. Okay. All right, let's see here. Let me just see this because this did stand out only because it is a pressing issue. Let's check this out really quickly before we do a tally. Statement from the President Simpson on masking in schools. What's his views? All right, this is Tallahassee. Okay, Florida Senate President Wilton Simpson, Republican, today released the following statement following Governor DeSantis' announcement of executive action to preserve parental choice regarding the masking of children in Florida schools. So this is what he said. When it comes to mask mandates in our schools, parents need to be involved in the decision for their children. I trust Florida parents to evaluate all of the information available and make the best decision about whether or not their children will be wearing a mask when they return to school next month. I'm grateful to Governor DeSantis for his strong and steady leadership at every stage of the COVID-19 pandemic and appreciate his leadership on this issue, which is so important to many families across our state. Okay, so this was released yesterday, July 30th, 2020. So the only thing that I will comment on until next week, when I will go into much greater detail, is this very express fact. If you are in a closed space, so indoors, if one person decides to wear their mask and the other elects not to wear their mask, and again, they're in the same closed space, the individual who is not wearing their mask creates the situation that is dangerous for them both. So both need to wear their mask in order for the tool of a mask to even work well. Hold on one second. Okay, you're being very loud. Okay, all right. All right, so just keep that in mind. I will also tell you, since, Asa inserted himself for a moment, as you can kind of hear him in the background. My son is actually attending remotely through an academy, an online school, and I have withdrawn him from Charlotte Mecklenburg schools for this very same issue. Because if we're not all going to practice the safety measures, then we are all going to be exposed to the same danger. Those who will wear their mask and those who do not. In order to create a safe environment for all must practice the safety measures. And that's that. That's just how it works. So this effectually is going to create chaos. It's going to create a lot of chaos, okay? All right, so not only just the chaos, the psychological impact of it on students who will wear their mask versus those who will not. The notion that he's stating that he trusts Florida parents to evaluate all of the information available. I would love to generally trust everyone equally, but we know that that is not a rational mind, especially for our leadership, to make a decision that can impact the safety of all children and the safety of all teachers and staff. This is not the time to politicize each person's individual rights of liberty, happiness, and Lord, I can't even think, right? Liberty, life, and the pursuit of happiness. This is not what this is. We are talking about human health and safety, and our leaders need to be able to objectively research all information that is available on topic, distinguish that which is important from that which is relevant, heed ethical scientists' recommendations, not just scientists who are tightly wound into the status quo, and media, and then use that information to implement a plan of action that preserves all involved, the safety of all involved. So that would be, again, the students, the parents who the students come home to, or to whom the students come home, right? And the teachers and the staff. This is not the time to politicize and try to win votes by giving the appearance that he wants each voter, because he's not talking to parents, he's talking to voters. Just it's very obvious. So he's giving them this idea through this pacification, like I trust you to make good decisions, and and then I'm going to trust that you're going to vote for me in exchange. So he's making this transactional relationship, but the currency is this facade of trust. It's not actual trust. It's just the facade of it. He wants them to believe that he trusts them, when in reality, he knows that the science does not hold up to that, because too many people are not doing the right thing. They're not practicing safe habits. And this was even prior to a pandemic. This is prior to the pandemic, that a lot of children are living in homes with parents who are not fit parents. Now, they may not have done something that would arise to criminal actionability, but still yet, there are definitely households that are not on the same standard of hygiene, right? And not on the same standard of cognition, understanding how to distinguish between the disinformation and the accurate information as it relates to the coronavirus and the variants. And so just allowing, hey, parents, just think for yourselves, and I trust you. I trust that you will make the best decision for us all. Well, that makes no sense. And this is not scientifically sound. This is not even mathematically sound. You can't have a safe environment if not all in that environment practice the safety measures. Think about it. If you're in a factory, right? Let's say there's 50 people in a factory, and you have a machine that has a safety switch to keep it from exploding, if you will. Okay. Let's say 4 people are in charge of it. Or rather, so that it applies directly to this, let's do an equal scenario, if you will. All in this factory are required to turn their machine off, all, in order for all to be safe. One person decides, well, I just don't feel like, based on all the information that I've evaluated, or rather misinterpreted, I believe that I shouldn't have to turn off my machine, and I can leave it on running for, any amount of time, and come back to it, and it will run just as effective, and it will not be a danger while it's on and not in use. So if that machine explodes, who does it impact? It doesn't impact just the employee that decided that he didn't want to turn on the safety switch. It impacts all. Okay, so let's keep going. So the first thing, like I said, we notice is that the Senate website, just like every other state, as opposed to look at the difference there. And my poor eyes. Now, I do have a prescription for readers, right? And of course, they will be used primarily to assist me with my computer usage, right? And so going from this visual to this visual, immediately my eyes just, it was just like, thank you. My eyes say thank you immediately, right? So we see the difference. And in all of these states, what we've seen is that the Senate website is more stoic, more antiquated, more status quo, extremely less visually appealing than the House. Almost disconnectedly so, disconnected from reality, disconnected from the notion, when I say reality, disconnected from the notion that a layperson would even visit their website. And the ideology that they have no expectation that the general public will visit their website. And even if they do, if they are not committed to the rigor, then they'll go away. And based on the stereotypes that go along with the status quo of Senate for each state, and even for those Republican senators in our federal government, that's what they want. They want you to go away. Oh yeah, just, show them the formalities and they'll go running. They won't stay, right? As opposed to the House, which is, even amongst the political culture, even amongst General Assemblymen, excuse me, and women, they share a belief from the history, from the historical status quo. This is how they've done it, right? Business as usual. There's a full expectation that the House of Representatives is more connected to the people, expected to be more available to the general public than the Senate. And you can see that this carries over very well. Okay, let's see if we find, so there's the House directory members. Let's go over here. Let's go ahead and get the Senate out of the way. Good gracious, Senator list. Okay. Small pictures like before, right? Not appealing at all. But we have all the names. We have the party, their district, and it gives you a breakdown of the counties that are relevant to each senator, right? Okay, so excuse me. Good gracious, you guys. Lord have mercy. Oh, it has been a relaxing morning, so I admit that. Okay, here we go. We started with Republicans last time. We're going to start with Democrat this go round. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All right. And just kind of scrolling and trying to unsquint my eyes, right? And even squint. I see one African American here, which is consistent with the Democratic partisan election here. All right, so then, or designation, so it doesn't get, so the word choice doesn't get confused. You can elect, you can choose, that's, the verb tense. And so an election, what we normally consider, a mass voting election. An election can be, the process of you choosing as well, which is exactly what the mainstream election, voting election is, right? But nonetheless, okay, so here we go. See one Well, good gracious. There's a woman here, African-American Democrat, Audrey Gibson. I'm waiting for it to, okay, let's see here. District 6, Jacksonville. They do have all of their information. Again, the font is just too small. Let's just see what bills she introduced. No bills have been introduced by her. I guess this is her in the media. Looks like she's she's vested in a college program, looks like, getting people funded, maybe scholarships. Let's go to that quickly and then come away from it. Let's see. The Edward Waters College for the start of the second National College Promise Program. Worked hand in hand. Let's see, during the 2018 legislative session, Senator Gibson and Representative Davis worked hand in hand advocating for state funding for the program, which creates a pathway for low-income, first-time in-college students to attend four-year institutions to earn their degree. The funds will be used to bridge gaps in resources from other forms of financial assistance to cover tuition for the entire 4 years for roughly 100 incoming students. This allows the students to graduate debt-free. This is awesome. This evidently is a quote from her. Every individual who wants to start and finish their four-year education to a higher level should be able to do so and not carry a load of debt through their own retirement. Working with Representative Davis in the House yet again was great. Okay. All right. So, and let's see who she's talking about. Tracy Davis. Let's go back and see if she is also African-American. Okay, and they are in alphabetical order, so we should be able to find. Okay, oh, well, Representative Davis, let's go over. Let's quickly, let's just see who this is since we pull this up. So, okay, this is giving us a PDF list of the House of Representatives, those representatives. I think it might be my internet in the area. It's taking a while. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Again, we have a leader of the House, Speaker of the House, who is a Caucasian white male that appears to be my age or older. Okay, so that's more the same. Let's see. And remember, we also discussed, please do not be beguiled by the male who is French or of Spanish heritage. You have to take a deeper dive to ascertain whether or not they are on the right side of justice, just as we have to do with those who are Caucasian. Because of the French and the Spanish history and colonialism, right? Their role in colonialism is pretty well recorded. All right, and again, more of the same. Well, we do have a minority leader, and he's not a leader of the minorities, the ethnic minorities in the group, even though I'm pretty sure he does project as that. This is the literal term for it, for the Democratic leader, the House's minority party. Okay, let me go back and see if it gives us. This is 161 pages. Your average person is not doing this. So whereas I appreciate all of this information, I really do. We also need to insist upon the information being concise and condensed. Concise and condensed are not always the same. So concise is definitely to the point, and accurate, right? But condensed. There has to be a better way to get all this information across in less than 161 pages. And we've seen it done on other websites, so it can be done. All right, so let's go here and let's see if let's go here. Instead of the House directory, let's go to representatives, see if we get a better, okay, so they give you different options, of course. This is the better option. I like the bigger pictures, of course. Let's see if we can find Representative Davis and see if that is an African-American woman. And it is. Okay, so Tracy Davis is an African-American woman, as we can see. Let's see. So it's a wealth of education. Her committees, of course, entail Public Integrity and Elections Committee, Early Learning and Elementary Education Subcommittee. All of these things make sense. Health and Human Services, which is inseparable to the education system. Tourism, infrastructure, and energy. Very interesting. And we can see that she's wearing her mask. That's a good sign. We want to know that they've been practicing safe habits. It lets you know that they are not disconnected from reality, that they are objectively processing the information during the pandemic, or at least gives you a likelihood that they are, right? Okay, so then let's come out of this and go back to, because we counted 16 senators who are Democratic. So that means that we have a Republican majority for the Senate in Florida. And we already know that generally, because we know that even Democratic Floridians are really, really sick of it. And if you recall, in this last election, the presidential election, with their local and state elections that were going on in Florida, there was a lot of uproar as far as flipping seats, right? Okay, so let's just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So 24 to 16. So there are 40 senators. Yeah. And we see only, there's another who appears to be a Black man. Let's pull him up. He appears to be possibly my age or younger. Let's see. And this is the time, of course, to come back and look at these websites, take a deeper dive. That's what is encouraged through this process. Bobby Powell is also, yep, appears to be African-American, my age or younger. Let's see, he is the leader pro tempore for the Democratic Party in the Senate. Let's see. All righty, let's see. So we do see some diversity. Daryl Irvin Rousen. Hope I'm not pronouncing that incorrectly, but if I am, you please understand it's not intentional. He appears to be older than me, African-American man. These are good things that they are in the Senate. Still not at the level we want to see generally for those of us who demand transformation, sweeping transformation to the right side of justice, right? And then Senator Perry E. Thurston Jr., he looks like he could possibly be younger. And we want to see the younger politicians. We want to see young leadership. And we want to see the diversity. And when I say diversity, I don't just mean, the black and white keys on the piano. I mean Asians, Pacific Islanders, Indian, Middle Eastern, and all, the different ethnic or demographics, European, Asian, Latin, just all of them. You understand? Let's see here. Okay, let's go back. All right, so now we're going to count over here. And we've got about 15 more minutes. So we're going to come back over here and see if we can get a tally for the House of Representatives. But you can see the website is so much more visually appealing. And not only just visually appealing, but it is a lot more legible. It's easier on the eyes. Okay. All right, let's see. Did it give us a tally? No. All right, so we're going to count Republicans. No, I said Democrat. Yeah, we're going to count the Democrats. 1, 2, 3. This is interesting. That's very interesting. Webster Barnaby, Republican. All right, so we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, and we are going to come back to those. Just trying to stay focused here. I believe it said 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. So 42. All right. Ugh, all the scrolling. Okay. And since we don't know the full tally, we're just going to go ahead and count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Sorry, guys. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 32, 33, 34, 35, 38, 40, 43, 42. Oh, I missed him initially, 42. So he looks like a younger guy. 42, 45, 48, 41, oh, sorry, 51, 53, these two, 55, 58, 61, 62, 63, 66, 67, 70. Wow, majority is great. 72, 73, 75. So 75 to about 42. Yeah, that's a huge majority. And based on the legislation and the current issues that are coming out of Florida as a state and the regions that, you know, we most often see in mainstream news, like Jacksonville, Miami-Dade, things have to change. They need to change. Those seats need to be flipped, because what we're seeing is that the Republicans in those seats are not on the right side of justice, okay? All right, so, and these are worth looking into further. These are not clickable. So I wonder, oh, yep, yes, it is. I misspoke. Sometimes it's more obvious. It gives you a hover, like a little cursor here, right? Well, that's not the cursor, you know, the cursor is actually the line, but the arrow, normally it would change on hover, and I just decided to try to click it anyway, and it worked. So let's see here. We don't have, yeah, we do have age, 1984. So he is young, 10 years younger than me. Was born in 76. Okay, so that's good. Let's see does it give us any legislation that he has proposed? No, we get a photo gallery. We see that he's wearing his mask. It appears that he's wearing a double mask. In fact, let's see. Yeah. So we've got a, not just an objective thinker, but we've got someone who actually believes ethical science. So that's good. Okay. Let's see here. He attended Florida A&M. Oh boy. There we go. Sponsored bills right there on the side there. Let's see. HB 477, special risk class of the Florida retirement system. Unfortunately, it died in government operations subcommittee. Oh goodness, all of them have died. That's not good. It's not good, but he is working on, he's not exactly just there for the facade of leadership. Clearly, this is quite a bit of bills for which he is active. To say anything less than he is active, and that's good. So COVID relief cash flow loan program, Florida retirement system. I saw something that hasn't died, quote unquote. And of course, that just means that it doesn't reach its life. You know what I mean? Its full life. It ends at that level of the ratification process, right? All right. City of Quincy Police Department Records Management. Let's just see what this is. Provides an appropriation for the City of Quincy Police Department. Interesting. Okay, hold on. Let's go. Mental health mobile response team. He withdrew it. Interesting. Prior to introduction. Provides an appropriation for the mental health mobile response team. Sometimes, again, it'll show you the actual bill. the text of it. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, the bill text. And this is a great time to reiterate this as well. I've said it and I'll say it again here. And I'm actually going to stop sharing for a second because I want you to see just how serious I am. Where are we at? No, we don't want to do that. There we go. We're going to stop sharing for just a second. And we're going to keep this up. Well, actually, I do have to bring it back up, but I just want to say this full screen. Anyone can write and lobby for a bill. You may not, as a layperson, as regular people who are not currently elected officials, you may not be able to introduce it on the floor. You may not be able to introduce it into the agenda for whatever committee you intend to present, right? But you can write and lobby for a bill. Understand that, okay? All right, so now let's go back to this. I say this to let you know that if you are concerned about where do you start, how do you write a bill? Well, there are colleges, if you will, for bill composition. They hold them, I believe, annually for high school students and college students. I've spoken out about this before. I'm not sure whether or not someone who is not a current student can attend, but I can't see why they would not be allowed to attend, or why there wouldn't be programs or colleges, because these are just programs. They use the nomenclature college because they are learning through that program. And it normally is like a weekend conference, if you will, with all of these seminars to show you different steps in the process of composing a bill and lobbying for its ratification, okay? Alternatively, you can literally just pick up like this. So electronically save, electronically pick up, whatever slang you want to use, you can pick it up offline, just like I'm doing now. I can literally just print this out, and then I can use it to copy and draft my own bill, my own proposed bill, okay? This is only one page. It gives you an idea. Again, even for the colleges that I mentioned, they have draft composition PDF files for you to use and follow. Boom. No excuses, people. You can do this as a layperson. It's we the people who need to be front and center for the process of legislation and the general governance of us all, right? Okay, so let's go back and put me back here. All right, got about 7 minutes. Okay, I saw one of his bills that had not died. Let's see, Shaping Success for Women, a gender responsive re-entry approach. So I'm thinking when I hear re-entry, return to society from imprisonment, or maybe some type of drug therapy program. Let's see, let's get to the text and see what we got going on. Still one page. So these must be ongoing programs that needed funding. And it appears that he is and has worked pretty actively in proposing continued funding into the fiscal year 2021 to 2022 for these programs that are serving the communities, different demographics in their local communities. Let's see. Okay, so then let's go back. Okay, let's go all the way back to, so we definitely want to keep an eye on Ramon Alexander. And this is not to say, I'm going to reiterate this, and I'm going to continue to reiterate this in every video if need be. And I'm going to assert that it may not necessarily be a need to do so, but I'm going to very strongly encourage you to ascertain whether any of your leaders are properly rooted in the right side of justice. And I'm taking the need out of it because this should just be, it should be basal. That should be basal. That should be your knee-jerk reaction, is to research all of the leaders who are in office for your respective state, for your respective city. Then the need comes into play, because that's basal, that's down here. That's like brushing your teeth and drinking water. That no one should have to tell you that you need water. That's basal. That's basal, right? Foundational. That's what that means, BASAL, right? What you then need to do after that is then take a survey, just as I'm doing, a deeper dive, because you're going to know their psyche, their demeanor, their locally with you, because you have the opportunity to interact with them at board meetings and political forums and committee meetings that are open. You have the opportunity to interact with them. That's what you need to do. You need to interact with them. Even if you don't want to be, like if you say, well, Tigress, I don't want to be called upon. I just want to sit and observe. And then I can, I can figure out who they are by what they tell us. That's awesome. That will suffice for the need of interacting with them. If your interaction is going to be observing them instead of actually engaging them or being front and center on camera, speaking out against or for issues, I have absolutely no issue with that. I take no issue with that. And I commend you for even taking the effort to be and some will call it passive, not in the sense that it's negative, but you will be a passive constituent, if you will, as opposed to, I would consider, I would consider it maybe hyperactive, right? If you're going to actually interact with them and speak out at all the, the committee hearings or city council meetings or whatever, right? That would be hyperactive. I'm definitely considered part of that hyperactive group. That no less makes you committed to the process. If you're going to just observe, then please be an active observer, right? So even if someone calls you a passive constituent, be an active constituent in the scope of like, I am paying attention. We need that. All right, let's see here. So then he looks like a younger guy, maybe. He's my age, actually 3 years older. Looks like he is a lawyer. Let's see. So let's see what he sponsored. And I will go back really quickly because Ramon proposed something as it relates to the African diaspora, specifically, it just shows African. I want to go over that really quickly before we end here. And because we will not ever have enough time in every hour to research each one of these legislators of interest, right? And yes, all of the legislators are of interest generally, but we know that we have a task at hand. And when you have a task at hand and you need to address issues, you don't waste your time with too many side issues. You don't allow yourself to get sidetracked. We need to know who's there, who's holding the Republican seats. If those Republican seats are part of the majority for that particular assembly, who is on the right side of justice? And if they're not on the right side of justice, we need to flip those seats. And that's sad. Because unfortunately, right now, it is a bipartisan system. I hope for a nonpartisan system, but that is not our reality for the present day. So we must work within the system that is set up right now. Do I want to do that? No, you already know Tigers doesn't want to do that, but this is what we have available until we have the reform that we see, right? Okay, this is good. Court records on eviction proceedings, but it died in the rules. Let's see. A default judgment was entered against the defendant, and the defendant has satisfied any monetary award included in the judgment. This paragraph does not apply if the action was brought under for material noncompliance other than non-payment of rent because of the tenant's intentional destruction, damage, or misuse of the landlord's property. A judgment was entered against the defendant on the merits at least 5 years before the motion was filed under this subsection, and the defendant has satisfied any monetary award included in the judgment. So they're allowing for relief. In an eviction proceeding under this part, the court must substitute a defendant's name on the progress docket with tenant if a judgment is entered in favor of the defendant. A defendant is not eligible for relief under this section if, during any 12-month period, the defendant has had a judgment entered against him or her in 2 or more eviction proceedings. Oh, this is good. So this appears to be a relief measure for tenants who have satisfied previous eviction-based monetary awards, right? So they've paid the plaintiff, which would be the landlord, and 5 years later, maybe they're seeking to rent again. And of course, these evictions are showing on their record. And the assumption here is that it's being used against them to deny them tenancy wherever they apply, right? So this would allow them relief so that they could actually move forward and find, appropriate housing without being barred from, by having this eviction on their record. So that's really good, really, really good. Okay, so that's great. This is great. All right, so this is the point that I'm making here, and we are going to go back. It is very important that you know what's going on in your county, in your city. And of course, when I say in your county, in your city, I'm talking about the governing body, right? Your city council, your mayor, your board of commissioners, right? Your county attorney, your county manager, your police department, your fire department, your sheriff's department, all those things, right? Okay. It's 4:19. We're going to go ahead and end here shortly. I am going to intentionally use just a few more minutes to go back to that. Where were we? Let me take these out. to see more information regarding Ramon's proposed bill. And Ramon might not be African American at all. He might be of Latin heritage, possibly, and he might be African American. I'm not sure. Let's see here. I don't want to over stereotype, right? Okay, so we're going to go here, sponsor bills. I was trying to look to see if I saw anything that would be an indicator, except for Texas A&M, of course. I would reckon that he does identify as Black. Okay, so let's go down here really quickly. It was one that didn't die, and it said African. Let's see. Oh boy. Reach out program. I know I saw it. Wait, FAMU Day. I'm going to scroll back up very slowly. Here we go. Florida African American Heritage Preservation Network. Let's see what we're doing here. Okay. I'm not sure what this is. Let's see if we can understand. And you see, this is just one pager. So it's not like you are doing a 10-page paper or 20-page paper. And of course, they do evolve, but they evolve through the collective process of composition, right? Okay, so don't be intimidated by the bill composition process, because you can do this too. It's pretty straightforward and simple. All right, let's see here. Again, providing an appropriation. I would imagine that this again is a pre-existing. Yes, it does suggest that, because he is suggesting funding for clearly what has pre-existed and funding into the fiscal year 2021, 2022. So nothing specific, no kind of new law, if you will, for the benefit of African Americans, but definitely proposing the continuation of funding for an African American based entity. All right, so, okay. All right, well, we didn't have a chance to go through all of them. I would strongly suggest, as you already know, I'm going to go back really quickly and highlight some of these individuals again that we need to look into. So Ramon Alexander, Christopher Benjamin, Camilla Brown, Dr. James Bush, Kevin Chambliss, again, Tracy Davis, who has been working with Senator Gibson, right? Fentress Driscoll, Bobby DuBose, Diana Hart, Omari Hardy, Yvonne Hayes Henson, Dottie Joseph. Let's just look here. She's a little younger than I am. She's an attorney, 1982. Let's just see what she's sponsored here, and then we'll come on out of here. But there really is so much to unpack. Statute of limitations for sexual offenses. And I imagine that she's trying to extend it. That would make the most sense. But it looks like it died. Bill history. And that's awesome that she attempted to do that. Okay. And that's great, because she wants to eliminate the statute of limitations period for civil actions for certain sexual offenses, providing applicability, providing an effective date. And to be quite honest, this hits home for me, if you read this subsection here, she's striking out certain parts of antiquated law. These are the individuals that we need. And I'm glad I did take a moment to look at this. We also need to make sure that we have leaders who are in position, who are ready on mark, like day one of after being elected, right? Who are ready, who are combing through all the statutes, and they are striking out via new proposed ratification of amendments to pre-existing legislation. And they are saying, hey, this is antiquated. This needs to be updated. It no longer applies. So we need to scratch this out, scratch that out. And we need those individuals who are effectually like an editor. Think about an editor who would go through all of the current laws and say, okay, this doesn't work. None of this makes sense anymore. This doesn't apply. We need to extend this. We need to change this. We need to change this. We need those individuals as well. So big ups to Doty. Hold on. I don't want to move from this really quickly. Let's see if I can do it. Make sure I get her name. Yeah, from Doty Joseph. Big ups to her, because that's very, very important. Okay. And this shows an action related to an act constituting a violation involving a victim who was younger than the age of 16 instead of who was under the age of 16. These things are relevant. At the time of the act, may be commenced at any time. And I mean, that's, you know, ironically enough, again, that's the case for me. This paragraph applies to any such action other than one which would have been time barred on or before July 1st, 2010. Some of you know that I have experienced a sexual violation when I was younger. My heart goes out to all of the women across this nation and beyond who have experienced any type of sexual violation. May you overcome and thrive and stand in your viability and your value going forward. Wow, so much to unpack with Florida. So literally, we see that the website, for the main assembly website, we see the senator website or the Senate website is more of the same, you know, pretty much stale and is what it is. And I'll show you stoic too, because I know some of you, I've used that term several times. A person who can endure pain or hardship without showing their feelings or complaining. So in some regards, this is seen as maybe a positive. I'm not referring to it in that manner. You want your senators to be connected. And so this stoic nature, you know, this kind of melancholy or it even rivals the psychology behind a sociopath who doesn't really show their feelings, is not empathetic, not sympathetic, you know, and that's what you kind of see from the Senate side of the, you know, of the aisle, if you will, right? And we don't want that. We need individuals who are engaged and intentional and not just there to collect a check because they retired from the military. Okay, all right, so that's gonna be all for today. And that was a lot, an awful lot. Let's go here, stop share. Woo, people, it is so much, but You can do it. We can do it. See, we evolve. Again, I am your host, Tigress Sydney Acute McDaniel. Please join me again next week when I will tackle quite a few of our pressing issues as it relates to the vaccination, the new mask mandates, and the contentions on that, the viability of Johnson & Johnson in the African findings, and so much more. But as always, be mindful of your health. Be mindful of your health. See a trusted physician before even considering taking any vaccination. Know your health status before you go. That same marketing can very, very aptly apply here. Please take care of yourselves. And until next week, I bid you health and wellness into perpetuity.